Well, we made it all the way to chapter 6. We've gone through the first 5 chapters of the book of Proverbs. And now the father is going to change directions a little bit here. Then he's going to get back to what we were talking about yesterday about warnings against adultery and the adulteress. In chapter 6, you want to get your Bibles. I'm not going to go through the whole chapter because it covers a number of different topics. One, he's going to talk about finances, the danger of getting into a trap there. He's also going to talk about people that are lazy. He's going to talk about scoundrels that use a lot of body language. And then at the very end, he's going to talk about something that I'm really looking forward to, something very interesting, and that's the heart of God. And so if you want to get your Bibles and follow along with me. So let me just kind of preface with a little introduction like this. I know a lot of people, especially young people, that haven't had a lot of experience with money, that want what they want when they want it. Okay? They get a credit card and they think that it has an endless a money tree on the other end of it. And the fact of the matter is, at some point, the bill comes due. And a lot of young people are involved, and not just young people, people that have an addiction to buying, do impulsive buying. Okay? And then comes the debt. And then they get overwhelmed with it. Okay? Well, here in Proverbs chapter 6, where the father's going to warn the son about a couple of different follies that he could fall into. And this first one is a death trap, or a debt trap. Okay, so let me read a little bit, and I'll share a little bit about what it says. My son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, in other words, you have co-signed for somebody, okay, this guy wants to buy a car. He doesn't have good credit. You do. You go and co-sign him to guarantee that the payment is going to be put forward. I have a friend of mine that owns a car lot here in San Antonio. And he's quite a character, but he sells a lot of cars that ended up getting repossessed, and he sells them again. They keep getting turned over and over and over. He makes a lot of money. And he collects money for it because people get involved in impulsive buying, or they get involved in impulsive, they see something and they gotta have it right now, okay? They don't understand delayed gratification, okay? They want what they want when they want it. Well, in this case, this neighbor comes to this young guy and he says, look, I want this thing. Will you co-sign for me? Okay? And so the father's telling him, he says, my son, if, and he's going to 1, 2, 3 ifs, hypotheticals. If you have put up security for your neighbor. If you have struck hands and pledged for another, in other words, shook on it. If you have been trapped by what you said, ensnared by the words of your mouth, you gave your promise, okay? And he says, then do this, my son, to free yourself. So if you have co-signed for somebody, that's a no-no, according to the book. It's not a wise thing to do, okay? And because if you read in the book of James, there's called the law of presumption. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You may be out of a job. This person may be out of. Now you're responsible for not only your debt, but his debt too. When I was in seminary, I saw this young couple. They bought a brand new house and they were both working. What they didn't figure on, I don't know, they weren't thinking, was that she was going to get pregnant. And now she couldn't go to work. She had to stay home, take care of the baby. They got a 1-income family with a 2-income payment to pay their mortgage payment. And they ended up losing their house. And so the Bible has a whole lot to say about finances, And I've never been in debt. If I need something, I pay cash for it. If I don't have it, I just wait. You know, Elizabeth Elliot, she, you know, I love to quote her, but she made a famous saying when she says, if you don't have it now, you don't need it now. Because God promised to provide us with all our needs. Listen to that again, young people. If you don't have it now, you don't need it now. And if you feel you need it, work and save your money, then get it. And ask God to give you the best deal possible, you know. But if your neighbor comes here, your buddy comes, hey man, would you co-sign for me? I promise I'm going to make all the payments. You're never going to have to do this. This is just for their, you know, just so that they have something in writing. Man, you just fell into a trap. So the father's warning the son. Now it's very interesting that he's talking about falling the trap into adultery. The very next thing is money. Okay? And money is a way of trapping people too. Okay? The two things that create a lot of divorces is one, infidelity, and two, financial problems. Okay? And so he doesn't want him to get snagged into that those traps. Okay, so he tells him, he says, look, if you did do that, perchance, here's how you can get out of it. He says, then do this, my son, to free yourselves. Since you have fallen into your neighbor's hand, you fell into a trap. Sorry. You know, he says, go and humble yourself. Try to get yourself out of this. He says, press your plea with your neighbor. Please, man, I didn't know what I was thinking. Let's do this another way, you know. But please release me from the co-signing that I did. And then he says to him, allow no sleep to your eyes. I mean, you're going to have to keep on and on. Don't even go to sleep. You know, don't say, well, you know, he tells you, hey, come on back tomorrow, we'll talk. No, you need, let me go right now. I don't want to be a co-signer anymore. Then he says, no slumber to your eyelids. Free yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the snare of the faller. You ever seen an animal just get trapped? Oh, they get frantic. They got to get out. Okay, they panic. Okay, I've seen it. Back where I live, there's a lot of feral hogs. And they got these big traps, and they got these corn feeders that throws feed around. And generally about 20 of them come in, and when they're all in, all of a sudden, the fence circles them around, and these feral hogs just go nuts. Okay, they're frantic to get out of it, and they're not going to get out. They're trapped. Okay, well, or just like a bird, if you throw a net over a bird just kind of, he wants out right now. He's trapped, you know. The hunter traps in order to kill. And so the father is warning the son here in regards to his finances and not to do anything impulsive. You know, he may be your best friend. He may even be your brother, sister, you know, or a relative. That's even worse, you know, or, you know, somebody, your associate. Oh, man, just come on. Do this for me. Look, what I always tell them when people ask me, and I've been asked a lot of times, I say, Manny, would you co-sign? No. What do you need? I'll tell you what I do. If I have it within my means, and it's a genuine need, I just give it to them. But I don't loan money to anybody. I haven't co-signed for anybody. You know, it's just a trap. If you got it, somebody needs it, here. You know, you want to pay me back, but you're not obligated. It's yours, a gift. You know, I'll come to you someday with a favor. Like in The Godfather. And no, you don't want to do that. So you don't want to put them in a trap. Okay? Okay, that's it for today. Look, don't go co-signing for nobody. Okay, sons, don't do that. Okay? And if you do, and if you have done it, you better go get out of it. If you've done it a long time, you're in deep trouble. Okay? He's probably not going to make the payment. If he had the means to make the payment, he wouldn't be asking you, would he? Okay, use some wisdom here. Come on. Okay? Okay, I'll talk to y'all. Tomorrow we're going to talk about laziness. And we'll get into that. A lot of people probably don't want to hear what I got to say about that. Okay, God bless y'all. Have a good evening.